Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the M2 iPad Air, the one that literally just came out, and compare it against the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 and see if this particular tablet or which one is still worth buying in 2024. Now, the thing I will definitely tell you, and the thing to start off with, is that both of these tablets are very good, and there's not one that I think is like the craziest better one in each individual way. I think there's ones that are better in a lot of their own ways, but if I had to pick up one, I don't think there's like a clear answer. I think the Tab S9 probably has more features up its sleeves, but I would still say for a lot of people out there, the iPad Air M2 model is still very, very good for the most part. If you want to pick up either one of these tablets, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the same exact time. Now, starting off with the outside of both of these, the first thing you're going to have to remember is that with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9, this one came out last year, so it's a little bit older than the M2 iPad Air. The front of this particular tablet had a 11-inch dynamic AMOLED display, and it was a pretty good looking panel. I thought this thing looked really good when it first came out, and it still is like a pretty solid option. It's a dynamic AMOLED 120Hz display at that as well, which is another really cool thing going on for this particular tablet. So I do think like if you're in the market and you're trying to buy some sort of a tablet, this is a very, very good display for the most part, and something I actually like a lot about this particular tab. On the iPad Air M2 model, on this one, you're getting the same size display. It's an 11-inch model, but it's a liquid retina IPS LCD panel. So this one is slightly different just because it is a little bit of a different type of technology, but that is something that I actually like a lot about this particular tablet as well, because it is just, it's a very good panel. You're getting True Tone on it, which is another really cool thing. And I do think if you're in the market, Apple makes really good panels. And if you're in the market for it, I mean, this is a pretty solid option when it comes down to it. Again, it's not perfect, but I do think it's still a very good looking tablet when it comes down to it on both. I will say on the outside, you are pretty much getting a brighter panel as far as I can tell on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 kind of. Also, there's a little bit more bezel on the M2 iPad Air, but you have to remember they're kind of going for different demographics. Like the M2 iPad Air is a little bit cheaper in the brand new market than the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9. So that might be one thing to keep in mind, but regardless, both of these are very, very good. They're both very solid options. And I do think if you're in the market, like I mentioned before, you can't really go wrong with either one as far as I can tell. So both of them get a thumbs up for me from the front side. They both have USB Type-C ports, which is great, but the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 is actually giving you a microSD card slot, which I think is actually very cool. I love having a microSD card slot, and that is something that is very, very cool that you're going to be getting on that particular tablet. So that's another really cool thing. There's no expandable storage built in inside of the iPad Air, but you are getting it in some other tablets, nowadays. On top of that, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 on the backside is giving you a built-in stylus support, which is really cool. It comes straight in the box. The M2 iPad Air, you have to basically buy the stylus separately. So it does support Apple Pencil, USB-C model, Apple Pencil 2, and the Apple Pencil Pro. So there is a lot of, capability behind those particular iPads with it, which I think is really nice. But the big thing to keep in mind here is that if you are going to buy one particular iPad, this one, neither one of these are giving you insane amount of accessories, but the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 is basically going to be giving you that type of S Pen built right in, which I think is really cool. Beyond that though, they're both giving you camera sensors on the backside. There's a lot of capability between both. There's not one that's way better than the other one, but a slight thing to keep in mind is that with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9, you are getting IP certification built inside of that particular tablet, which I actually do think is a really cool thing. There's not really any IP certification built inside of the M2 iPad Air. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. In terms of the price tag side too, I want to kind of hit on this. Like I said before, the Tab S9 is a little bit more expensive in the brand new market, but with the M2 iPad Air, this one doesn't really cost, as much as the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 in the, brand new market. Used market though, it's a slight difference. If you're wanting a better performing tablet for the most part, you might want to go for something like the Samsung Galaxy, Tab S9 in the used market rather than a brand new M2 iPad Air. So that might be another thing to kind of keep in mind there too. In terms of the cameras, you're getting a single camera setup on the backside and a single front camera. So the Tab S9 is giving you a 13 megapixel wide angle lens, then a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera on the front side, where the iPad Air M2 model is giving you a 12 megapixel wide angle lens, then a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera on the front side as well. Now there's some slight differences between both of these types of cameras. So the first thing I'll tell you is that with the Tab S9, you're getting 4K at 30 filming on the backside, you're getting 4K at 30 on the front side. With the M2 iPad Air, you're getting 4K at 60 on the back, but 1080p at 60 on the front. So it's kind of funny how much flip-flopping is going on here. So the first thing to keep in mind is that with something like the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9, you are actually getting, technically speaking, higher resolution overall, but you're not getting 4K at 60 on the back of the Tab S9, which can be kind of a disadvantage for some people out there. If I was out there and if I was wanting to get a better performing device, it might be for the Samsung Galaxy Tab, S9 that might be the better camera in some ways. The M2 iPad Air though, you are getting 4K at 60 on the back, Whether you use it or not, it's up to you, but at least you're getting that type of capability, which might be a big deal for some people. So I think this in and of itself is another very, very big thing to keep in mind. But regardless of that, I think both these devices are great. The cameras are very, very good between both. If I had to pick up one, I don't really know which one I'd pick up, to be honest, but both of them are good. I think, though, maybe a little bit the Tab S9 might be a little bit of a better camera, and since they're both ultra-wide cameras on the front, there really isn't even that big of a difference between them when it kind of comes down to it. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there too. In terms of the software longevity, this is another big thing. We're comparing Android and iOS here. So historically, usually, Android would usually take the cake for the most part of not necessarily being the strongest, longest lasting device. And I kind of do think when it comes down to both of these particular devices, I would probably say that the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 may not be the longest lasting one here. I do have a feeling that a device like my, M2 iPad Air, that might be the better one here for probably the average person. And I do think if I'm going to go and buy some sort of an iPad, I think the M2 iPad Air might be giving me the longer lasting tablet when it kind of comes down to it. So it's probably not going to be by much, but I would probably say within like a 2-year gap between these two. Now, if it was the Galaxy Tab S10 with the newest chipset, that might be a little bit of a different story. But I think when it comes down to these two, I would probably kind of I would probably go off an edge and say that the Galaxy Tab S9 might not last as long as something like the, M2 iPad Air. So kind of keep that in mind too. Not the biggest deal in the world, but just one other minor thing to kind of keep in mind there. Beyond that though, when it comes down to the performance, this is another big thing that we're kind of comparing here. With the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9, we're going to be getting a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset inside with 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM. With the M2 iPad Air, we're going to be getting the M2 chipset inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM as well. So personally for me, if I'm going to go through and pick up one of these types of tablets, again, it's not really going to be a crazy big difference. And the reason for that is because with a device like the M2 iPad Air, we're now getting a lot of similarity between these. To be honest, I love emulator support. I'm so happy our iPhones and iPads are getting emulators inside of them. So that kind of alleviates one big issue that I used to have with all my iPhones. I will say though, to add to that, with something like the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9, you are getting a lot more devices and a lot more applications that are supported on Android. So because of that, developers are probably still going to, utilize, Android and a lot of software experience and a lot of software updates within it. Performance-wise, I think they're both going to be very, very good. And I don't know if there's like one that's like significantly better for my use case. That's the thing. With these two devices, I'm not really going to be noticing that big of a difference between them because both of them are going to be very, very good when it comes down to it for my use cases. So I'd go down to you, see if you use one particular type of thing more than the other one. And if you're going to go ahead and utilize a particular device more than the other one and the performance, then that might be the better one for you for some people. But I'd still say something like the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 and the M2 iPad Air are more than enough in terms of performance for the average person. So to kind of sum up this whole entire video, what I would definitely tell you, I think both these tablets are great. And I don't know if there's like one that's like significantly way better than the other one. I think when it comes down to both of these tablets are very nice. And I think that in and of itself is another very, very good thing going on for both. Is there one that's way better than the other one? Not quite. But I think if I had to pick up one, it'd probably be the M2 iPad Air for some cases now that we're getting more emulators on our iPads and iPhones. But if I want one that had a little bit more features ahead of it, like more flagship features, the Tab S9 is the one because it's giving you 120 Hz display, built-in stylus support, or like at least comes in the box, kind of a better camera sometimes, Samsung DeX, and expandable storage. Those are some really nice things to have inside of a tablet. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean me so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.